Hey guys, it's Dr. Charles, aka CoachMD. Thanks for joining me today. In my over 30 years of medical practice, I have made it my goal to help you create a great life by achieving a strong mind, a healthy body, and an unshakable spirit. What I'd like to talk to you today about is this article. It's actually an older article, but I think it's very pertinent to today. And it's entitled Why Rich People Don't Care About You by Ross Pomeroy, January 21st, 2015. And this irks me because the author actually irks me, a professor at Berkeley who kind of has it out for, quote, rich people as though they're different than you or me. So let's dive into this a little bit. And tell me what you feel about it. Give me your comments after you read the article, hear me go over it. I'd love to hear your take on it. And while you're at it, subscribe to this channel. Examine the income ladder of the United States and you'll soon stumble upon a surprising fact. Rich people donate a smaller portion of their income to charity than poor people. In 2011, people in the bottom 20% donated 3.2% of their earnings. People in the top 20% donated just 1.3%. But you have to understand that those in the higher income brackets also are employing a lot of people, giving a lot of people the wherewithal to actually donate to charity. So let's not get carried away with this, Mr. Piff or Dr. Piff. These numbers don't seem to be anomalous, but there is some nuance. Data from the National Center for Charitable Statistics shows that taxpayers making less than $60,000 donate around 3.75% per year, while those making between $200,000 and $10 million donate less than 3%. However, those making more than $10 million are the most generous of all, donating nearly 6% of their income. Okay, so these numbers, remember, percentages, if you take a small percentage of a higher number, it's still going to be a pretty high number. Psychologists have examined this dynamic even further. What we've been finding across dozens of studies, and this is suspicious when somebody states this and says that finding across dozens of studies, it's kind of like a doctor who dismisses you when you bring up anything about supplements or nutritional supplements or vitamins, and the doctor will say, oh, studies don't show that does anything. Well, actually, there are studies that do, or they'll say, oh, there are thousands of studies that debunk that. Well, there's thousands of studies that don't debunk it. So when you throw out a statistic like this, that these are findings across dozens of studies and thousands of participants across the country, I start to wonder really what the data is coming from. And Piff points out one study that brought rich and poor members of the community into the lab and gave them each $10. Participants were told that they could keep the money or share it with a stranger. The poorest subjects, those making less than $25,000 a year, gave 44% more than those making between $150,000 and $200,000. To me, this is ridiculous, okay? So this is going to make you say that rich people are less generous than poor people because they come into a lab, you give them $10. This sounds very suspicious and a bit slanted, and it makes me wonder what the motivation is about the authors of the studies here and Dr. Piff. In another instance, Piff and his associates ventured out to a California crosswalk, I remember this, where motorists are required by law to stop for pedestrians waiting to cross the street. They then watched the actions of drivers as one of the researchers would stand at the side of the road, plainly waiting to walk across. Over 152 observations, they noted that not a single driver in the least expensive car category buzzed through the crosswalk. They all stopped. On the other hand, 50% of drivers in newer, more expensive cars, like BMWs and Priuses, drove right through. Priuses, expensive cars? Now, I'd take a pause on that, and it seems that this is very contrived and it's cherry-picked. It seems ridiculous, honestly. Tell me what you think about it. I'd love to hear what you're reading it. We should all understand that there are jerks on every spectrum of the socioeconomic scale. All right, it's not, no one group holds a monopoly, in my opinion, on that. So this is seems a little bit contrived. Perhaps the most publicized of PIF's studies involved the quintessential American board game Monopoly. PIF brought numerous pairs of students into a small room and filled them as they played the game. Now, students, by the way. At the onset, students flipped a coin to determine whether they would be in a poor or privileged position. The privileged players were given more cash, collected twice as much money as they passed go, and were permitted to roll the dice twice. PIF described what happened. The rich players actually started to become ruder toward the other person, less and less sensitive to the plight of those poor players, and more demonstrative of their material success, more likely to showcase how well they're doing. Oh, come on. This is so contrived. PIF also noticed something fascinating in the privileged players' responses at the conclusion of the game. They talked about what they'd done to buy those different properties and earn their success in the game, and they became far less attuned to all those different features of the situation, including that flip of the coin that randomly gotten them into that privileged position in the first place. Well, yeah, gratitude, they should be gracious, but what are they going to do with it? Okay, and they are actually turning into something positive, possibly that the other players can learn from. So, PIF and his colleagues theorized that the reason the rich seem to be less caring and compassionate compared to their peers is that their wealth affords them the luxury of not to rely on others. Over time, their sense of empathy can grow less sensitive. Of course, that's their opinion, and they're driving these broad stroke opinions and theories from these, what I think are silly experiments. So let me know what you feel. Subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you know when I'm coming up with new ideas and new topics, new content, and let me know what you'd like to see more of. And let me know what you think about this. To me, it makes me scratch my head. It's ridiculous, and this got such traction in the news, and it just divides people, and it makes everyone, to me, it makes one look at others in a very disparaging way, and it just seems very disingenuous to me. So amazingly, UC Berkeley psychologist Dr. Keltner has found a physiological manifestation of this deficit. I mean, this doesn't make sense. Our lab and other labs are interested in something called the vagus nerve. Yeah, me too. It's the longest bundle of nerves in the human nervous system. In our research on compassion, the feeling of caring for someone in need activates the vagus nerve. Lower class individuals, if we show them images of suffering, they have a vagus nerve response. You don't see that in upper class individuals. That is so absurd. And I don't believe it. I don't believe that outcome. The vagus nerve runs from the brain all the way down into the stomach, okay? And part of the reason why there is a gut-brain connection is the vagus nerve. And that vagus nerve activates what's called the autonomic, one part of the autonomic nervous system, which we don't think about. It's unconscious, and it causes those feelings, for instance, in our stomach when we get nervous, and it's just automatic. I call it the automatic brain. That's part of that system, and this is ludicrous in my opinion. It's not scientific. It's spouting off ridiculous science for an agenda. So what does it matter if the wealthy don't care about the rest of society? And that's not true, okay? It's not true that they don't care about the rest of society, because those who are poor, many of them wish to be rich. And many of those who are poor say that if they were rich, they'd be different. And yes, some would and some wouldn't. Again, no one group, whether it's socioeconomic, racial, ethnic, holds the monopoly on virtue, on strong character, on love and the ability to love and to be empathetic. No one group. There are certain individuals in all groups that are jerks and that are beautiful, beautiful people. So to do this is disingenuous and really speaks to a very hostile, I believe, agenda. How do they conclude? Of course, the wealthy aren't doomed to be Scrooges. For instance, the studies did not examine if there were behavioral differences between those who earned their wealth versus those who simply lucked into it. Also, Keltner insists that the human brain is hardwired to care. Okay. I would have a little argument. That's a whole other discussion, and I talk about it in my book, Brain Drain and Fake News Stories by Your Brain. So I might tend to differ a little bit, probably where he's coming from. But yes, we are capable of true caring and love, and that's part of our divine nature, not our animalistic nature. The wealthy just have to consciously work to be more cognizant of their fellow humans. Don't we all? Don't we all have to do that? Let me know what you feel about this. Until next time, I'm Dr. Charles, a.k.a. CoachMD, urging you, encouraging you to stay strong in mind, in body, and in soul. Bye for now.
Dr. Charles, CoachMD. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you think you have a friend who might benefit from this video, share it with them. For access to exclusive content, support my Patreon. There you'll get private access to videos, meditations, health tips, even relationship and financial tips. You'll have a say in what I produce and be able to participate in a monthly call with me. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you soon.